Hello, and welcome to the NESN Soccer Show. I'm Marc. There I am. You're Marcus. How's it going, Marcus?
I didn't know if I should do it. I was gonna chime in, but I thought that might be awkward. It's going great. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't want to mess up the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
But
I could have done it though. Let the record show.
Oh, I'm sure you could have.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that originally when we first started, you didn't take on the introduction of the show role.
I like your style, Marc.
Yeah, thank you. I like my style too.
Yeah.
Well, let's just jump right into it. Or actually, no, I got a little gripe with you.
Okay.
I tweeted at you last night.
You did tweet.
You gave me nothing. You gave me nothing. Nothing in response.
I saw the tweet. After a certain hour at night.
There's a video in the tweet.
After the certain hour, I just like to be in my own world, and I don't. I don't like people calling me after 10 or before 10. And
well, it was like 10:30. It was a little later.
Same rules for Twitter.
Maybe I shouldn't have been tweeting at that time either.
Yeah.
But
usually I would get back to you in the morning, but I didn't today. So
we'll get to the topic of that tweet later on in our Christian Pulistic discussion.
There is a reason for that.
But we'll jump right into, I guess, sort of the newest news in the MLS. The New England Revolution have parted ways with manager, head coach Jay Heaps. The Revs are 8th in the Eastern Conference. They've lost 4 of their last 5, most notably their 7-0 disaster at Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think before this 4 of 5 stretch, they were sort of like competing for a playoff position. Now that's pretty unlikely. It seems like this sort of had to happen, was something waiting to happen. But what are your thoughts and first reactions when you saw this?
My reaction, I wasn't really surprised. I saw that 7-0 loss as kind of like a Waterloo moment, where Heaps' position really became untenable. They played, I want to say 18 games on the road this year, or not 18, sorry, maybe 14 games on the road, and they haven't won any of them. They're winners. So this team, Heaps had taken the Revolution to the MLS Cup final in 2014, U.S. Open Cup final in 2016, but they haven't shown the consistency in recent years that are really the hallmarks of good teams.
Yeah.
And I just got the sense that things had gone a little bit stale, and the statement Mike Burns, Revolution general manager, talked about going in a different direction. So I'm really interested to see what that direction is, what it'll look like, because Revolution fans are really in open revolt right now over the state of the club, state of the team. Other teams have been, they've surpassed the Revolution both on the field and off it. And, the Revolution are one of MLS's flagship franchises. So there's there's real pride that the fans feel in the club. And, Jay Heaps, of course, being a long-serving player and one of the longest-serving managers, also felt in the club, but it's a results business, even in MLS. And the results just weren't good enough, and something had to change. So
it seemed like, so Jay Heaps, to just familiarize people, he had 243 appearances with the Revs from 2001 to 2009, then the head coach since 2011. And it sort of seemed and felt like the Revs were staying stuck in the past of the MLS, maybe in the sort of the 2000s era, whereas the rest of the MLS, seems like it's changing every year, and quality's getting better, and stadiums are changing, and different things. So it does seem like kind of a step in the right direction for the club. But what do you see going forward? Like, are there any coaches on the horizon, or the interim coach? What are the chances he becomes the head coach?
Tom Sowen is going to take over for the rest of the season. 5 games left in the regular season. The Revolution are still mathematically in the playoff hunt. It's just the last couple defeats have really taken the wind out of their sails. They were playing quite well up until maybe about a week ago. Until the Atlanta. That's Keely on the God mic.
Producer Keely.
They were playing okay. They were still in the hunt for the playoff chase. So I think having Tom Sowen come in is they're banking on giving that new coach bounce that you tend to get. But I have a feeling over this offseason, Mike Burns said he's been getting calls and texts from around the world, and maybe that's changed from what it was like in 2011 when they fired Steve Nicol and they went with Jay Heaps, who was kind of a local guy. They pulled him out of the broadcast booth. I have a feeling that the Revolution are really going to open up this search to maybe whoever talks a good game on the interview, and we'll see if they can back it up or not. But Tom Sohn is in right now. There have been no names for long-term appointments and things. Nothing that I've seen that really seems to have legs in terms of rumors and links.
Well, it's not going to be an easy start for Sohn. They play Toronto FC this weekend, MLS points leaders. So, that's no good.
There are names I would like to see. I wouldn't mind seeing somebody who was working over in Europe, actually. And, for whatever reason, found themselves out of a job. But I just think it would be interesting, something to follow, something to write about, because more than anything, the Revolution need some excitement around them.
Absolutely.
And, we talked about Frank de Boer last week. I would love to see Frank de Boer in MLS.
I like it.
There's an opening in New England.
Throwing a name out there. Get the wheels rolling.
There's nothing there. Sam Allardyce, he says he's retired. I would love to see Big Sam.
Everyone can unretire.
There are guys out there, and I don't know who Mike Burns has been talking to, whose calls he's taking, who's he's sending to voicemail. I don't know, but it should be interesting the next few months.
Not to hang on this too long, but when you talk about the Revolution, I think there are a lot of soccer fans in New England, and they do look to the Revolution as, they're just waiting for something to be excited about with the club. And this is sort of an opportunity where the signing of an exciting coach can really spark interest across the region. So I think it's an important time for the Revs. Maybe not so much in the remaining games left in this season, but just how they maybe end the season and just roll into next season.
It's generating excitement. And the names I put out, I'm well aware that when foreign coaches come to MLS, they tend to flop. So,
well, somebody has to be successful sometime.
I just want something to write about, something for the clicks.
So a couple of other MLS teams played a match that was not technically an MLS match last night. Sporting KC and the New York Red Bulls played in the US Open Cup final. Lamar Hunt US Open Cup final. Sporting KC won 2-1 over the Red Bulls to clinch their fourth title in the tournament.
All in the last 5 years, I think, the last 6 years.
Just racking up the trophies over at Sporting KC.
Oh, they've got a good thing going there.
The match was at Sporting, and the place was obviously sold out, but the fans, they just were loving it. Smoke bombs, chants, goals going crazy. It seemed like a really fun place to be. I watched most of the match and was really just took the atmosphere really got me excited and got me thinking. The U.S. Open Cup is weird because it's exciting for maybe like FC Cincinnati made some noise this year, and the country sort of seemed to be aware of FC Cincinnati, but doesn't necessarily care about the MLS team that wins the cup. And so my question for you is, what exactly does the U.S. Open Cup mean to soccer fans in America?
It depends on how much of a soccer fan you are, how hardcore you are. The U.S. Open Cup is one of the big 3 titles. Every year there are 3 titles that most teams are playing for. Not most teams in America, but most of the MLS teams are playing for. Supporter Shield, which goes to the regular season champion, most points in the regular season. I'm a big fan of that, by the way. The U.S. Open Cup, which is the cup itself, and then the MLS Cup, MLS Playoff Championship, which determines the league champion. The U.S. Open Cup is the oldest of the competitions by far. I think this year was year number 104.
By far, by like 100 years.
Right. It's the 104th, so there's prestige and gravitas that comes with that. I think it might mean a little more to the players and the clubs themselves and the fans that are involved in the finals than it does to your average casual soccer fan in America.
It's not quite the FA Cup where everybody's excited to watch the final.
I've never, I've never really walked down the street and heard somebody that's maybe just a casual MLS fan talking about the Open Cup. But, I do know that this tournament provides teams and fans some of the most important moments. We go back to the Revolution, the great teams that they had in the 2000s. The one title they won was the Open Cup in 2007. So, it's something to hang your hat on as a fan. And for the players, they get $250,000 in prize money to divvy up, which MLS players aren't making that much. So it's important. It really means something to them. I like the Open Cup. I think it could use some tweaking, but it's good competition.
Well, what would you change about the competition? Would you kind of narrow down the field, or
the competition itself? No. Two things. One, neutral venue in the final.
Yes,
MLS and U.S. Soccer has gone to this in recent years of having either the higher seed, or I think in the Open Cup they do a draw or a coin flip to see who hosts in the final. I think
they do that throughout when you get to the round of 16. I think it's all
coin flips. Right. Yeah. I really think the final should be in a neutral ground, and I know they like it where fans where fans can come in and really generate the home atmosphere, and they can sell tickets and sell the place out. But if there are weeks or months in between the semifinal and the final, fans can get to wherever the final is.
Right.
And I really think having that neutral venue, it makes it more of an event. And I'm saying this as somebody who's never seen their team in a final live, but I think it makes it more of an event when you get up and you travel somewhere and you go for the game. The second thing, which I might have just blanked on.
Oh, that's all right. Well, I think when you have a neutral venue, then in MLS you don't really see fan bases clash. Not that you want hooliganism to start up, but you don't see fans really clashing with each other too much.
No.
It's a chance for fans to sort of cheer against each other in the same stadium and put one fan base up against another, and it's just another way to help build the game and build interest. And
it's more of a party.
Yeah, it's a party.
The second change that I would like to make is to play the final closer to the end of the season. And I'm talking about the MLS season, the playoffs. So the playoffs will run from mid-October through early December.
Yeah.
I would like to see the Open Cup final maybe sometime around Thanksgiving, just so, as it is in other countries where the Cup final is either the week before the end of the domestic season or it marks the end of the domestic season, just having it closer where teams are building for that that last push, having the final take place versus where it's there's still 4 or 5 games left in the regular season and teams are still in preparation mode for the playoffs. They're gearing up, but I think they're far from their peak.
Does it become a problem that you don't necessarily know the playoff schedule, the MLS playoff schedule, and you could have an MLS team in the MLS Cup playoffs traveling to 3 different cities in 1 week just to fit all these games in. Although, I guess typically you would expect the teams in the Cup final to probably be in the MLS Cup playoffs.
Yeah,
but
not necessarily.
It could just create some real travel, toughness on certain years.
Yeah,
but
maybe let them have charter flights, or I'm not buying the tickets.
This is a little off topic, but isn't the MLS season just kind of at an odd time in the year, just from when it starts to when it finishes?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think we have to get into that.
Are you saying to go to a winter schedule? Which
maybe.
You want to go down that rabbit hole?
It is a big rabbit hole.
It is. I just like the idea of having your finals at the end of the season where teams are peaking. It's just it just feels weird because there's still 2 months left. What are we in? Late September?
Yeah.
Still 2.5 months left of top-level domestic soccer. Maybe we put it where after the playoffs of USL, after the NASL playoffs, where all the lower division teams will be boom, done, end of the season.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a break week in between the start of the MLS regular season,
playoffs.
You're right, start of the playoffs and the end of the regular season. Play the cup final then. I just think it's a little too early to be talking about cup finals and crowning champions while there's
so much left. So much left.
So much so.
Well, yeah, I think that if I was to change anything about the tournament, it would be that. I do like the number of teams in it. I do like, if you sort of really dive into it, how the lower level teams are able to qualify and play in the tournament.
The Cinderella aspect is that's what gives it life.
Yeah.
And every year it's a different team that neutrals get behind. And, this year it was Cincinnati. In 1999, it was Rochester.
Right, the Rhinos.
It's always fun to see those lower teams battle MLS teams.
Yeah, and it's a chance for them to put themselves on the map.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've referenced Cincinnati about 100 times on this podcast.
the biggest Cincinnati fan outside
They just
of
hosted
Ohio.
a women's national team match where they sold out the stadium again and had. Or I'm not sure if they sold out, but they had a great attendance, and they put themselves on the map as a soccer city.
Yeah.
And, we want to be in the MLS, and we are deserving of a team, and we have these other pro sports franchises in our town, and, it's like, why not?
Cincinnati doesn't need MLS to be a soccer city, though. I think that's what we've learned.
Exactly. They're going to be a soccer city whether or not MLS accepts them or not.
They can be first division, second division, fourth division.
Doesn't matter.
Still a soccer city.
Yeah. But all right. The MLS, it's still young. It's still a young league.
Yeah.
And another young part of U.S. soccer is Christian Pulisic.
Ah, Wonder Boy. Yes.
The Wonder Boy. Pulisic turned 19 on Monday or Tuesday? This week.
I think that was Monday.
Yeah. So he in his first game as a 19-year-old, they played Hamburg in the midweek yesterday. And Pulisic scored I think on first viewing, it doesn't look as difficult as it really was. Because he gets the ball in a good amount of space, but his second touch, it's one of those touches where you really have to look at it, but the ball sticks to his foot. And it goes exactly where he needs it to go, where then he can then get a shot off, and then the shot, the space he had to shoot the ball on the net was probably about the size of a soccer ball. And he put it right in there, right past the goalkeeper's fingertips, or might have even hit the goalkeeper's fingertips, off the post, in the back of the net. Dortmund goes up 3-0, I believe.
Game over.
Game over.
I didn't reply to your tweet because I wanted...
That is what I tweeted you
I
about.
wanted your reaction. I wanted you to see my initial reaction. I wanted you to see it in real time. Pulisic is 19, and I think we can already talk about the prototypical Christian Pulisic goal.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. What I saw, excellent ball control. There was acceleration where he burst into the box, slowed up a little, beat the defender over the last 10 yards, and then acceleration followed by composure, which is what I'm seeing, the more Pulisic that I see.
He just knows how to finish.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There's not a lot of players have that ability to control the ball, control their body, and still pick the right spot, pick their head up, look up, and finish like that. He's special player.
He's it's the kind of skills where a casual fan, because I tweeted it at you, but I also sent it out to a couple other friends, and one of them said he wasn't that impressed, and I lost it.
It wasn't flicks and skills and tricks and things like that.
What's so impressive is it looks easy when you watch from the wide angle. And it's like, well, he's in so much open space. Well, you know why he's in open space? It's because he knows
into the open space.
He's fast, he's quick, he has the perfect ball control. And so often when a player has the ball, the space closes in on him. To be able to maintain the space with the ball, everybody's running after him. They're trying to get to him, and he's still in open space to get a shot off. But yeah, so it's just very impressive. Dortmund stands alone in first place in the Bundesliga, only 5 matches in, but they're 1 point up on Bayern Munich.
For now.
And a lot of questions at Bayern, as we discussed last week. Yeah, and for now, I mean, but, you know, Dortmund has been knocking on the door, trying to win a Bundesliga title. Bayern's been in control of that for
I think
years.
they won the last 5 or something like that, or 4.
But, you know, they look to Pulisic as a great young hope, along with their stacked roster. But this brings me to my big question, and I think a lot of people are asking it, but Pulisic is 19. When you look around the world right now, there aren't too many young players getting as many minutes consistently on big clubs like Dortmund, playing in Champions League matches as Pulisic. And he is up for the Golden Boy Award, which is given annually since 2003 to the best player under the age of 21.
Right.
Before we get into who he's going up against, let's just throw the big names out there. When you think about Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi as teenagers at the age of 19, where does Pulisic stack up?
Statistically, as one of the crack reporters at ESPN compiled, he's producing more goals.
Yeah.
More goals, more assists for club and country than Messi and Ronaldo. Now, we have to couch these comparisons in the fact that at 18, Ronaldo, I think, was playing at Manchester United.
Yeah.
Lionel Messi was at Barcelona at 18. Maybe these clubs, I would say, were then at a higher level than Dortmund is now.
Yeah.
Dortmund, big club, big in Europe, but at that time, Barcelona was coming off a Champions League title. Manchester United was on their way to winning one within the next year. I think they won it in 2007, thereabouts. So they were really at the top level.
Yeah.
Dortmund is at a very high level.
Yeah.
I would say they are a rung below the top.
And the same sort of exists at the country level.
Internationally as well, yeah.
Messi, I mean, from Argentina, playing against CONMEBOL competition. Pulisic has gotten a lot of goals, but sometimes, you know, they're against Trinidad and Tobago, and it can be a little bit easier.
Yeah, he's shouldering a bit more responsibility for
absolutely.
club and country than Messi and Ronaldo were at that point in their career.
Yeah.
I don't know if that will help or hinder him going forward.
I would say it helps him. I would say he's getting kind of more experience and more playing time and more exposure than even Ronaldo and Messi were getting at that age. And it's
certainly exposure here.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't have said exposure, but I think actual playing time and actual experience, he's maybe learning more and is maybe going to develop into his full potential and reach his full potential a little bit faster than Ronaldo or Messi maybe did. Yeah. Not to say that that full potential is as good as them. I don't think it's going to be.
Right.
But Dortmund is such a developmental club as well and does a great job churning out quality soccer players. It's the perfect place for Pulisic to be.
Right. I worry a little bit about burnout with young players.
Yeah.
Playing a lot, physical fatigue and mental fatigue, which is having to be on 365 days a year.
Right.
Or, you know,
as an
350 as an 18,
19
year old versus a 25, 26 year old. Yeah, the numbers, I was shocked when I saw them.
Yeah, it was very
different situations, but goes back to the original point. Pulisic is a special player, and you should enjoy him.
Okay, so the Golden Boy Award, past winners include Wayne Rooney, Lionel Messi, Mario Götze, Pulisic's teammate, Paul Pogba, Balotelli won it. Didn't really pan out for him. Yeah, he did. So just because you win this award doesn't mean you're going to have a fantastic career.
No.
But who's he going up against for this award? And if he wins it, what does it mean?
He's in the final 25, all right? And there were 4 names that I saw. I mean, he's got a legitimate chance to win this award.
Yeah.
Now, this is given out by Italian newspaper Tuttosport.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said that correctly.
Yeah.
And
You did,
there's,
by the way.
there's some prestige attached to it. It doesn't, it's not the Ballon d'Or.
It's the Rookie
It's
of the
not
Year
a
award,
FIFA.
more or less.
Yeah, it's a great young player award, and
Yeah.
youth always fuels our dreams and our, we think we see Pulisic and we say, yeah, maybe he'll win the World Cup in
26.
yeah, 2026 thereabouts. We can
dream.
talk, we can dream in tangible terms. 4 rivals, I think. Pulisic faces Ousmane Dembele, who was his former teammate at Dortmund, now at Barcelona, just suffered an injury that's going to keep him out for the next 3 months, I believe.
So he's off the running, maybe.
He's out. Gabriel Jesus from Manchester City was great at the start of his Manchester City career, suffered an injury, was out for a couple months. He's done very well this season. I have a feeling that injury might put him a little behind Pulisic. He didn't have anything really to shout about in the Champions League last year, but he's doing well this season, but maybe he's out. Marcus Rashford at Manchester United. Every time I watch him, he scores. Marcus Rashford he's got one of the great names in all of soccer.
Yeah.
Marcus. It's a good player. Scores for Man United, scores for England. He's not quite first choice for either. I would put him out of the running. So we're down to Pulisic and Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah.
I've got to give it to Mbappe.
You think so?
Between what he did at Monaco
Yeah.
and what he did with what he's doing with
At
PSG, he's now broken into the France team. I think he is the top young player in the world right now. He too is only 18.
Yeah.
So him and Pulisic, I think, we'll be linking them together over the course of their careers. I think Mbappe's at a higher level right now in terms of his performances and the team he's playing.
Does he
on.
maybe get some easier opponents in the French league, and they run up the score sometimes on some guys, and he ends up with 2 goals, whereas Pulisic's 1 assist is really more important and valuable at Dortmund sometimes?
I would disagree.
Yeah.
Mbappe led Monaco to the league championship last year, and he took them to the Champions League semifinal, and he was terrorizing defenses in the Champions League in a way that maybe Pulisic wasn't.
Yeah.
In those biggest, it seemed like in the biggest games and in the biggest moments, Mbappe was really performing at his highest level, and I would even say dominating those settings. Whereas Pulisic was maybe coming on as a sub in the games
he wasn't
against Bayern
exactly
Munich.
a full-time guy
Yeah, but
he is now, though, basically.
he is now that they sold Dembele.
Played the full 90 yesterday.
Right.
And in the Champions League match, or maybe it was like 70 minutes or something like that.
I think a lot will depend on when the voting closes for this. 1, who's doing the voting, and 2, when it closes. There could be a bit of anti-American bias in there. I wouldn't be surprised. But it'll be maybe a shootout for week in and week out. We'll see how did Mbappe do, how did Pulisic do.
Well, it's exciting just to have
I think it's
a
down
guy.
to those two. Yeah.
To
And
have
as
I
a-
have a question.
Sure.
What's that, Keely?
If Pulisic does win, how will the overreaction be for U.S. soccer?
Okay, in case you didn't hear that, her question was, if Pulisic wins the award, how crazy will the overreaction be in the United States for winning the award? Good question.
I will combust spontaneously. I'll be on whenever they announce the show, I will poof.
I think this
That'll be
is
it.
interesting because I think it's something where soccer fans will understand how big of a deal it is and will get very excited, because I'll get very excited too. I don't know about combust, but I'll be feeling tingly.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure sort of the casual soccer fan that we always talk about in the United States will even care or realize that it's happened. I think they'll maybe see a headline.
If we say he is the best young player in Europe for this year, and by the way, it's an under-21 award, and he just turned 19.
Yeah. Can he win it twice? Is that possible? Are you allowed to win it
I
twice?
don't see why not.
But
I don't know what the rules are, but
Like, I think every soccer fan will be very excited.
Yeah.
But then there's, I'll call them the World Cup fans that it's not going to be the thing that sort of is like,
Yeah.
now we're going to pay attention.
Or, they'll start calling him the American Messi or the American Ronaldo.
Something like
Or
that.
the American Pele.
Yeah. Maybe I am wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong about this, but I just have a feeling that it wouldn't get the publicity that it probably deserves
Yeah.
in the United States.
I would agree.
But, like, you and I will certainly talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll do our best to let people know.
I mean, we're talking about the nomination.
Yeah,
And if
so-
he wins, we'll do a whole... we'll do a month's worth of shows on it. Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on, because, we can only love Pulisic so much.
Yeah.
Diego Costa.
Finally.
28-year-old Brazilian bona fide star going back to Atletico Madrid from Chelsea. How did this come about? Why did this develop? Why is he leaving Chelsea?
Diego Costa is leaving Chelsea because his manager, Antonio Conte, decided that he didn't want to put up with him anymore.
Yeah.
Costa's got all kinds of talent, very talented. He scored 52 league goals in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Helped Chelsea win 2 Premier League titles.
Yeah.
I would say he's probably a legend at Chelsea right now.
Well, he had a legendary run, I would say.
He did.
Yeah.
Now, there's another side to Costa, which is, one, he's a bit of a villain on the field. I don't want to characterize him as a dirty player because he's much more than that, but he does dirty things on the field. And he's a battler, and he's a warrior, and forwards and strikers have been getting kicked since the dawn of time.
He needs, he does what he needs to do to win.
That's right. And Costa gives it back. So I respect that. But there are also things behind the scenes that maybe Conte doesn't like. Conte needs to be in control and have everybody on the same page, on his page.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be the type to really give a lot. And I think he indulged Costa a little bit last season for the sake of winning the title. But when Costa wanted a new contract in January, Conte reportedly said no. And then fast forward to June, Costa went up, he was on duty with Spain and said, I got a text message from the coach. He said, I'm not in his plans. And boom, that right there sparked what we're now talking about, which was Costa said he only wanted to go to one team, Atletico Madrid. 2 problems with Atletico Madrid. They didn't have a lot of money, and they have this transfer ban where they're not allowed to register new players until January. So had they signed Costa, at any point before today or whenever it becomes official, he still can't play until January.
Right.
But Costa's been back in Brazil, spending time with his family in his hometown, hanging out with his buddies.
Doesn't sound so bad.
Doing a little bit of training. Chelsea called him back. They said, we want you to come in and train and get ready for match fitness. He's been AWOL for the last month. What are we in, September? Yeah, last month and a half. Costa's been AWOL, getting fined 2 weeks every week.
Yeah.
And he was that determined to go to Atletico Madrid. He said, I'm never going to, I think I read something where he had moved his family out of the house in London, moved them back to Atletico Madrid. He was done there.
Yeah.
And it was really just down to negotiations. So they finally settled on 53 million pounds. It's about 63 million euros, 65 million US. Great price for a striker who, he's gonna strengthen Atletico Madrid.
Yeah. Well, I think that whole storyline there just shows you that if you're going to have Diego Costa, the situation has to be right to have him on your club, or else his talent is just going to turn into a giant headache.
Well, not his talent, but his antics.
Well, yeah.
And there are antics. And one thing that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention was that last season, and actually every season before this one, there was somebody at Chelsea that I think was more influential than we know about keeping Diego Costa in line and keeping him focused, and that is John Terry.
Yeah.
Without John Terry around running the dressing room and keeping order at Chelsea, I think that was a headache that Antonio Conte decided, you know what?
And that's just you. That's your speculation.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I believe it. It makes sense.
I know who's in charge of Chelsea until until this past offseason,
Yeah.
John Terry. So without him there as that, I wouldn't say calming influence, but he ran that dressing room for 15 years. Without him there, it was a smart play by Antonio Conte because, it doesn't take much to send a team off course. So I had predicted earlier this season that not having Costa there was going to cost Chelsea big time, but Alvaro Morata is off to a good start. Michy Batshuayi scored a hat-trick in the League Cup. Maybe he can do something. I still think they're short at striker, but so far so good for Chelsea.
And him not being able to play till January, Atletico and Chelsea are in the same Champions League group.
Yeah.
So I guess they don't really have to worry about that.
Yeah.
They could theoretically still meet in the knockout rounds.
They could.
It would be difficult for that to happen.
That would
That'd
be
awesome.
Fantastic. I would love to see that. But I think Costa will do well at Atletico Madrid. He's with Diego
absolutely.
Simeone, his coach, who turned him into the beast that he is. I'd never really heard of Costa before he became the man at Atletico Madrid, and that coincided with Simeone's arrival around 2011, 2012.
Right.
And Costa's been one of the best strikers in the world since then. I have to give him his due. So I don't expect him to, really fall off going to Atletico. And, La Liga is going to be a 3-horse race for at least the next couple years.
Should be exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've hit all of our topics. Final word. I think you've got a couple matches you're sort of looking to this weekend.
Yeah, there were two. Now there is only one. The first is the Turin Derby. Serie A being one of my guilty pleasures. Always like to see the big games. And, we know Juventus, they are...
I think they'll do all right.
They are
in this match.
the juggernaut of Serie A.
Yeah.
But, Turin, the little brothers, they're still in the same city. I'd like to see how they, get on. I don't expect Turin to
No, but maybe
win.
it'll be a scrappy match.
Yeah, it's at Juventus Stadium, so Juventus will win, but let's see what Turin does.
Yeah.
60 years ago it was the other way around.
Right.
Torino were the big dogs in Turin, and Juventus were the little brothers. So I will tune in. Now, the one that I really, really wanted to see and was really looking forward to is the Liga MX El Super Clasico. Chivas, Club America is hosting Chivas. That game will not go on due to the earthquake in Mexico, and as well as the Copa MX games, which were scheduled for midweek. There were supposed to be a good couple derbies there.
None of them
didn't happen.
Yeah.
So our hearts go out to the people in Mexico. And we hope you recover.
I think Estadio Azteca took on some damage.
Maybe some slight damage.
Well, the one match I'll be looking for this weekend is the Revolution taking on Toronto FC. Just because first game with the new head coach and Toronto's points leader in MLS. I just want to see how the Revs come out and how they play.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a team that is capable of losing 7-0, but they're at home. They've played well at home. If they can come out in any sort of inspired way, that's the first real step in the right direction for the club. And it's our local club, so want to keep up to date with them and see how they respond when their manager gets fired.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the supporters' response as well. Because they could, they could come out and have a message that, pro J Heaps, anti J Heaps. I don't know. I mean, I know there were big problems with Heaps that a lot of the vocal section of supporters had, but they also have gripes about upper management, and they could express that in the stands. I'm interested to see just what the atmosphere is like, and of course what the performance is like. What kind of urgency the players show, what kind of maybe what kind of tactical differences there are. We'll see. It's a new era in New England.
All right. Well, that does it for us. You can follow the podcast at NESN.com/podcast, YouTube.com/NESN, and iTunes/NESN.com.
SoundCloud?
And SoundCloud.com/NESN.com. I always forget one.
Yeah.
God, I've never gotten it completely right.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.